And to talk more about the growing trend of spying and surveillance in the nation, I'm joined now by George Heminger, founder of Survive and Thrive TV. Welcome, George. Do you think America is becoming too paranoid?
I think America and the politicians that run this country are forcing a new era of totalitarianism and spying on fellow Americans. And with the economic collapse that's on our plates right now, you can kind of expect more totalitarianism and more spreading of fear-mongering by our government.
George, so totalitarianism is a very extreme word. Why would you go as far as to use that word?
Well, I mean, yesterday I covered the Occupy movement. They actually closed down a distribution center, Walmart distribution center, for 6 hours. And the government is now arresting leaders of protest movements across the country, and they shut down the Occupy movement basically with a coordinated attack. And if that isn't a attack on freedom of speech and our liberties, I don't know what is.
It also came out recently that the Department of Homeland Security has been monitoring the Occupy Wall Street movement. How do you feel about a federal government agency keeping tabs on protesters?
I think it's atrocious. I think the bureaucrats that we pay with our tax dollars should actually be going after real terrorists than actual citizens that have grievances with the corrupt politicians and the corrupt financial elites in this country. Instead of trying to shut down free speech, instead of arresting these young kids and pepper spraying them and arresting them, they should be addressing their grievances and take a look at Wall Street and take a look at big corporate business and try to right the wrongs of the inequality in this country.
Earlier, George, we saw what activities count as suspicious: changing your appearance, paying with cash, and so forth. These are things that almost everybody does at some point in time. Does almost anyone, therefore, qualify to be on a terrorist watch list?
Well, I actually read the 25 flyers that the FBI underneath the Communities Against Terrorism passed out, and they actually encourage people to call in at a number and mention a secret phrase, tripwire. So it reeks of kind of a secret Stasi reporting on your fellow citizens. But here's some of the businesses that they targeted with those flyers. Hobby shops, if you're interested in remote controlled aircraft. If you're at a hotel and you don't want maid service. If you're at a mall and you arrive with a group of individuals split up but are still communicating by phone, that could be a dry run for a terrorist activity.
I feel like a lot of us are guilty of some of those things at some point in time.
Watch, next time you go to the car rental shop and you rent a car, watch the questions they ask you. I've talked with a couple of my subscribers at my YouTube channel. They want to know where you're going. They want to know what you're doing. And they're going to question you if you pay cash. These are not anyone's concern with your private movements in a vehicle that you're renting. This is just overreach of authority and overreaction to a so-called terrorist threat.
And George, looking at the other side of the argument, I mean, what's wrong with being asked to report suspicious activity? If law enforcement gets useless information, so be it, as long as it keeps the public safe.
Well, that's the balance. You know, the balance that we have to come to in this country is safety versus security. And when you give up your liberties and you give up your freedom and you give up your privacy for safety and security, I'd say you've given up your freedom in general. I mean, you've lost the whole point of it. It's keeping a balance. It's keeping a balance of keeping the public safe, but without infringing upon our rights that are guaranteed by the Constitution. That's the tricky part.
And also brought to light recently, the New York Police Department monitoring Muslims. This includes keeping a close eye on Muslim mosques, Muslim students, simply due to the fact that they are Muslim. So are certain ethnicities and religions more likely to fall victim to spying?
Sure. I mean, they may be monitoring Muslims right now that you may not have a problem with. I have a problem with the civil liberties aspect of violating that. but soon they may be monitoring people that happen to own guns legally. I mean, if you look at those 25 flyers, they talk about martial arts and paintball. You know, if you go play paintball and this is quoting the flyer, if you're converting large plots of rural land to paintball fields or military-style training camps, you could be a low-level terrorist. I mean, the NRA should take up issue with some of these issues. I mean, this affects the left and it affects the right. It's an overreach by the FBI and government authority.
I guess we all better watch ourselves when we're in the paintball field. George, thank you for weighing in. That was George Heminger, founder of Survive and Thrive TV.